Today we are going to discuss about a research which appeared in British Medical Journal, an open access journal, and the title of the study was interesting: how yoga is changing lives in the United Kingdom. What this study uncovered about yoga in UK was uh, in terms of who is really doing yoga in UK, how do they practice, what drives individuals to do yoga, and does it really work? And also the link between yoga and wellness. So these were the objectives of the study, and the study was conducted through a cross-sectional survey. That means the researchers asked the individuals who are doing yoga, and based on their self-reported feeling of a questionnaire, they came up with conclusion to the answers. And in this study, around 2,410 participants participated in the study. And if you see the ratio, the number of females that participated was 87%, and the males was around 12%. So you could see that in terms of gender ratio, the number of people who participated in this study was more biased towards female. And in UK, this trend is seen that females are practicing yoga more than males. Then the authors also looked at the ethnicity of the study. And if you see here, white British females participated in this study more. Around 91% of the respondents were white British females, and others were of other ethnicities like Asian, Black Africans, and others. In terms of their marital status, 63% of the population in the study, the 60% of the people who participated in this study were either married or cohabiting, and singles were around 15%. So with this, we understand the number of sample, number of people who participated in the study, so that whatever the results we are going to get, we can make sense out of it. And also, one more thing we need to understand is the people who participated in this study were all of very good, generally, either they were of good health, very good health, and excellent health. If you add up all these things, you would come to know that more than 88 to 89% of the people who participated in this study had a very good health. In terms of diet, you could see omnivorous, that's eating both the vegetarian and the non-vegetarian diets, were around 53%. And then others constituted of different denomination. Out of these, vegan and vegetarian only constitute around 22%. In terms of education qualifications, you would see here, sorry for the line, that most of them are either undergraduate or postgraduate level studies who have conducted. So from this, we understand one thing, that this study is conducted on a population which is slightly above the general level of education, health status, and other demographic parameters compared to the others. And it is also quite obvious that people who are practicing yoga in UK follows this particular trend. So to sum up, the characteristics of the participants are either they are white British females who are dominant in this sample. They were asked which are the most popular yoga styles. And in this Hatha Yoga, 28% of the people of the in the survey chose Hatha Yoga as the most popular yoga style. Iyengar Yoga came to around 25%. Other third one was Vinyasa Yoga, which is basically a dynamic breath linked related movement. And at last, it is Ashtanga Yoga. So these were the four more popular styles of yoga which are practiced in the United Kingdom. In terms of where do UK yogis roll out their yoga mats? In that 58% of the respondents suggested that yoga is done in yoga studios. Remaining were in community hall, gym, and also there was a sizable percentage of respondents who practiced at home. In terms of what do these yogis spend their time practicing on? Physical postures or asanas, these are the largest routine of yoga which the participants practices. Pranayam is practiced by 13%, relaxation by 12%, a small percentage, around 8% of participants practice meditation, and chanting and study of yoga around 2%. So from this, we understand in terms of yoga, asana or the physical posture is the most important yogic technique which is being practiced, followed by pranayama, relaxation, and so on. This indicates that there is a scope for individuals to practice other forms of yoga in order to improve their health and well-being. They were also quite vocal in terms of the injuries a participant suffers while doing yoga. And this study finds that around 67% of individuals who practiced yoga were injury-free. That means they never had any injury practicing yoga. 2 out of 3 practitioners fall in this category. They never had any injuries. However, others got injured. That's around 33% of individuals have reported experiencing injury. Out of this, 20% of the respondents have experienced at least one injury, 5% two injuries, and 1% has reported more than 3 injuries, 3 or more. So from the distribution of the body areas where this injury has occurred, if you look at it here in this pie chart, injuries to the back constitutes around 24%. And injuries to the knee were around 13%, shoulder around 12%, neck, wrist, foot, and other injuries of other parts of the body were constituted around 33%. What does this signify? This signifies the importance of taking care while practicing yoga. Also, it should be done under the supervision of a trained teacher so that the injuries could be avoided. For the participants, see to it that if you look at this ratio, back and knee constitutes a major chunk of injuries. See to it that you protect this while doing asanas. Start small so that this type of eventuality will not occur. Then in this study they asked what are the motivations for starting the yoga practice. And this is a very interesting graph. They asked the respondents what was the initial motivation and what is the current motivation. If you look at it, the initial motivation is given in a brown color and the one in the current is in the blue color. That means if you look at it, initially the motivation to start with yoga was well-being, fitness, health condition they had, or they had some they wanted to be flexible, they wanted to improve the mental health, they wanted to for the stress some yoga so that it could benefit. In terms, a small percentage of people also reported that spirituality was the main reason by which they was initiated into yoga in United Kingdom. In terms of anti and postnatal labor issues, there was also one of the motivations to start with it. Some also saw it as a hobby. Some people were recommended to do yoga, and there was some social pressure to do. Maybe your partner or somebody very close to you were doing yoga, and you wanted to. You were also initiated into yoga, and then there was other miscellaneous reasons. And if you see here, though well-being was the initial motivation, however, the current motivation is not limited to well-being. Also, fitness was the initial motivation, but fitness is not the only current motivation by which the respondents are doing yoga. You would see here initially in terms of stress, the level of the number of respondents started stress as to reduce stress, but they found that over the period of time, stress reduction is becoming one of the important motivations to continue with the yoga. And also in terms of spirituality, the respondents have seen a huge increase in spirituality though the initial motivation to join yoga for spirituality reason was low. However, there has been increase in the motivation to increase spirituality in order to do yoga. And there were also other reasons like in terms of the social, after doing yoga, the number of contacts a person has made within the class increased their social motivation also to improve yoga. So looking at this, we can conclude that initially the motivations were for like well-being or fitness, but over the time period, the respondents have experienced reduction in stress and also the improvement in spirituality while doing yoga. Now, spirituality and religion are two distinct concepts. Now, in spirituality, there could be individuals who believe in religion, and also there would be individuals who believe for a much higher entity. So this is an interesting finding, I thought, in this study. The study also looks at how does yoga help, and they looked at different dimensions of human living and try to make a justification as regards to how yoga is helping the individuals. In terms of musculoskeletal back pain, 94% of individuals who participated in the study said that there is a reduction in back pain due to the practice of yoga. Same is the case for neck and shoulder pain. Around 92% of individuals reported that yoga helped them to deal with the neck pain. Arthritis, respondents who suffered from arthritis, around 87% of the individuals suggested that it was helpful in arthritis. Now you should remember this percentage, the sample size was around 2,400. Out of 2,400, this percentage of people have experienced some helpful, that yoga was helpful for arthritis. And this is in the UK perspective. The second one was the mental health. In terms of stress, 98% of respondents felt that yoga was helpful for stress reduction. Same is the case with anxiety. Around 97% of the respondents felt that yoga helped in reducing anxiety. In terms of depression, around 93% of the respondents felt that yoga helped them in reducing depression. Around 79% of individuals also reported that yoga helped them to reduce or to deal with the sleep issues. In terms of women's health, pre and post pregnancy issues, around 89% of individuals or respondents felt that yoga helped them. In terms of premenstrual syndrome, around 77% of individuals experienced that premenstrual syndromes, yoga was helpful in that. In terms of menopause symptoms, around 68% respondents felt that this was helpful for them. And you should remember in this study, the women who participated in this study are much more than the males. And this results indicates the importance how yoga would help in women's health. Now let us look at the impact on cardiovascular. In terms of blood pressure, 73% of the participants felt that it was helpful, yoga was helpful in order to deal with high blood pressure issues. In terms of other respiratory illness like asthma, around 72% of individuals expected there is a benefit in terms of asthma. Now let us look at this with respect to the type of yoga being practiced. In the earlier slide, the most type of yoga practice was Hatha Yoga. Pranayam, which is basically a technique by which you exercise the breath, that only 18% of individuals were practicing it. But still, after that also, asana and pranayam contributed to around 72% of individuals finding yoga helpful to deal with it. In terms of gastrointestinal disorders, IBS, which is an irritable bowel syndrome, around 69% felt that it was helpful for them. In terms of neurological diseases, for migraines, around 54, and for other headaches, 68% of individuals felt that yoga was helpful for them. In terms of other issues like allergies, you would see that yoga has not contributed much. Hardly 27% of individuals has reported that the allergies were in allergies, yoga was helpful to them. Same is the case with fertility issues. So from this, we understand how yoga has impacted an individual in different conditions: musculoskeletal, mental health, women's health, cardiovascular, gastrointestinal, neurological, and other areas or conditions wherein yoga has helped the participants. Now, what was the most strongly linked to benefits? And in that, the researchers found a very important finding. They talk about home practice frequency. That means if the individuals who have practiced yoga in terms of more number of days per week, they felt a strong sense of well-being. That means more hours at home you are more times you are practicing yoga at home, it leads to higher benefits. Also, more hours or the duration you practice yoga at home leads to positive lifestyle changes. So from this, we understand two aspects. Frequency plays a major part in addition to the duration of practice. Let us look into this nice table which these authors have created. And this is basically a linear regression, what they have done in terms of the stress and the predictors of various demographic variables. Now, in terms of health and well-being, stress, if at all, the stress was found, stress reduction on yoga was found in terms of age, days per week, individual practices yoga, and also whether an individual is a yoga teacher or not. And you would see here that the beta values are negative, indicating that lower the age, higher the stress. Higher the age, lower the stress. Now, in terms of yoga, what is important here is days per week. As the days per week increased, days per week of yoga practices increase, the stress of individual came down. And also the same was if the individual is a yoga teacher, then the stress also came down. So one important takeaway here is in terms of stress, if the frequency of doing yoga per week is increased, the benefit of stress what an individual derives from yoga comes down. Let's look at well-being. In terms of well-being, the same thing is noted in terms of days per week. That means the frequency of doing yoga per week increases, the well-being improves. And that's why this is having a positive value, indicating that if days per week increases, well-being increases. whereas days per week increases, stress reduces. That's why it's having a negative relation. And the second variable which they looked at was life satisfaction. In that, to improve the life satisfaction, we need is not the frequency of doing yoga, but rather hours of doing yoga. If you increase the hours of doing yoga, your life satisfaction increases. Yoga teacher is the same as previous variable. Also here, one significant impact is the use of meditation. So if you practice meditation, then your life satisfaction increases. Then comes this concept of life being worthwhile. Among demographic variables like sex, age, what is important is here the hours you practice, the life being worthwhile increases. The hours you practice at home, the hours you practice in the class, and also meditation improves the variable of life being worthwhile. In terms of happiness, hours at home increases, your ability to do yoga increases. Hours in the class you spend in the happiness increases, and also meditation increases the practice. Now looking at these variables or health and well-being outcomes and the significant predictors of yoga, I'm not going to talk about age and others, but what is more important here is that the days, if you increase the number of days you practice yoga, then you are seeing a significant outcome in terms of stress, well-being, satisfaction, worthwhile, life being worthwhile, and happiness. So frequency and duration plays an important part in getting the health and well-being outcomes. So from this, the key findings on the practice of yoga, we come across that this is one of the largest survey exploring yoga and health in the United Kingdom. And most of them were white British females, highly and well educated, and this trend is found in most of the Western countries. And also you could see here that compared to general populations in the United Kingdom, these yoga practitioners report a better overall well-being and healthier lifestyle. In terms of lower stress, body mass index, obesity levels were lower, and most say that yoga has improved their physical and mental health. Frequency of practice matters, and also the duration of practice. It doesn't predict how long you have done yoga. Take for instance, you have been doing yoga for 20 years, but if you don't have the frequency, also the hours you spent doing yoga, the benefits are not realized. They have talked about yoga could help in pain management and also dealing with mental health issues like anxiety and depression. So the golden rule is prioritize frequency over the years of practice. You may be practicing yoga for 20 years, 30 years, but if you don't have the frequency and the duration of, if you don't spend the duration required to practice yoga, then you wouldn't see the perceived health benefits. So some of the guidelines here talks about embracing a regular and consistent engagement with yoga. Try to be regular in the practice, increase frequency. Also try to dedicate time for each of the practice. Yoga is not only looking at asanas, but there are other forms of yoga like pranayam, pratyahar, meditation, and so on. Over the time periods, you would see the cumulative effects of long-term well-being. So, integrating yoga consistently into the routine is more impactful than just practicing it. Yoga supports healthier habits. It may boost long-term well-being through regular practice. And many participants have experienced and reported this aspect of shifting towards a more holistic and spiritual approach as one progresses in yoga practice. Of course, yoga related injuries occur. So it is good first to take care of oneself, not exceeding one's limits, doing yoga within one's limit, and also it is a good practice to have a teacher who would dynamically supervise your activities of doing yoga, give feedback to you, which will help you to improve the yogic practice. Thank you very much. And with this, we conclude an discussion or important research which appeared in British Medical Journal on yogic practices in United Kingdom.